Why the scam worked then and now. The real key to his success lay in how easily human psychology could be steered in the right setting. Ponzi understood that people weren't running calculations in their heads. They were responding to emotions and cues that felt urgent, special, and trustworthy. Those same instincts still operate today, which is why the tactics that worked in 1920 look so familiar in digital scams a century later. Urgency was his opening move. He stressed that the opportunity might disappear at any moment due to government intervention or quirks in foreign postal markets. That ticking clock left little room for hesitation. Imagine standing in line, told you had to decide immediately or risk losing a chance to prosperity. The psychology is identical to the flashing countdown timers on suspicious websites or the only 10 spots left tags in an online pitch. Scarcity pressures the brain to act before reason can step in, and Ponzi made sure everyone felt that silence equaled loss. Exclusivity was the second lever. He promoted the scheme as something almost no one else understood, a secret corner of global finance too complex for the average person. Investors felt flattered simply being allowed in the room. Families who had never been close to insider opportunities suddenly believed they had special access. That same appeal drives people today into invite-only Telegram groups or private Discord chats. Whether it's postal coupons then or alpha crypto tokens now, the promise is the same. You're hearing about something the masses are locked out of, and that makes it too good to pass up. The third piece was charisma. Ponzi had an instinct for how to look the part. Clean suits, confident eye contact, warm conversation. It all smoothed over doubts. Once newspapers began describing him as a financial star, the combination of charm and visibility made questioning him seem foolish. That charisma echoes today in influencers posing against rented supercars or speaking with unwavering confidence on live streams. People still find it easier to trust a familiar face insisting wealth is guaranteed than to accept the dull reality that there is no shortcut. Together, these three elements, urgency, exclusivity, and charisma, form the skeleton of the scam. Modern psychology would call them by the names of cognitive biases: scarcity bias, authority bias, and social proof. Ponzi's waiting crowds on the Boston sidewalks provided social proof, just as visible as screenshots of fake trading dashboards circulate today. Authority came from the newspapers portraying him as a genius. Scarcity came from his constant warnings that the opportunity could vanish any day. He tapped into instincts hardwired into human behavior, long before research papers ever labeled them. This is why many of his investors did not feel naive or reckless. They saw neighbors collecting payouts, coworkers describing success, and local media endorsing his genius. Saying no began to feel riskier than saying yes. Fear of missing out might not have had a name in 1920, but the emotion was unmistakable. It pushed people to reinvest, to recruit, and to silence nagging doubts. That same fear drives digital communities today, where missing one supposed opportunity feels like being left behind by the entire generation. And while the packaging has been updated, the evidence people use to reassure themselves still functions the same way. Where Ponzi's investors proudly displayed handwritten notes and stamped receipts, today's victims forward screenshots from trading apps or PDFs with glossy logos. Both are easy to fake, both provide just enough polish to calm suspicion, and both reinforce the illusion that everyone else is getting paid. At heart, those paper slips from 1920 and the Telegram JPEGs of 2025 serve the same psychological role. Proof on the surface, doubt underneath. What makes this more troubling is how adaptable the same strategy can be. Swap coupon arbitrage for crypto staking, plug in social media instead of newspaper features, and the mechanics remain intact. Early adopters boast of winnings, others rush in, skeptics are ignored, and the cycle feeds on itself until the structure collapses. It isn't the math that connects these eras, but the emotions, greed, envy, and the dread of being left out. Despite decades filled with exposés, documentaries, and financial education campaigns, the pattern hasn't faded. Each new generation convinces itself they can ride the wave and exit before it breaks. The truth is harsher. Very few ever manage to leave in time. In Ponzi's day, investors reassured themselves that the system worked because neighbors were cashing checks. Today, speculators repeat the same refrain after seeing screenshots or clips online. Tomorrow, the mechanism will reappear in some other form, wrapped in the confidence of new technology. In the end, What glued the whole illusion together was not Ponzi's cleverness alone, but the amplifiers around him. His urgency, exclusivity, and charisma set the fire, but outside forces gave it fuel. Without that reinforcement, his promises might have stayed confined to a handful of curious investors. Instead, the story magnified until it swept across Boston and destabilized banks. That amplification, the machinery that turned whispers into hysteria, is the missing piece for understanding why the scheme spread so far and so fast. And once you see how it worked in 1920, it's hard not to notice the updated version playing out today. The hype machine, then newspapers, now social media, who really built Ponzi's empire. Charles was the front man, but the engine behind his rise was something larger, the press. If his promises were the spark, newspapers were the wind that turned them into a roaring fire. In 1920 Boston, the printed page carried enormous authority. A photo above the fold or a glowing feature in the business section could shift public perception overnight. At first, reporters treated Ponzi like a novel curiosity, a bold immigrant entrepreneur who had supposedly uncovered a loophole in international finance. That early, uncritical coverage functioned as free advertising. Readers saw his face in fine suits, learned about smiling crowds outside his office, and read interviews with investors boasting about returns. It was like a daily endorsement, and in a city eager for heroes, the message hit home. Among the local papers, the Boston Post played a decisive role. Its publisher, Richard Grozier, initially ran neutral stories describing Ponzi's soaring popularity. Those articles weren't intended as endorsements, but they acted like them. Circulation rose alongside Ponzi's reputation, as people rushed to be part of the commotion described in print. Yet it was also the Post that later turned against him. Once suspicion grew, its reporters launched an investigation that eventually exposed inconsistencies and drained the hype. But by then, the press had already helped inflate his legend to extraordinary heights. The sequence mattered. What started as passive reporting gave him a credibility boost, and only later did scrutiny catch up. To grasp how this looked on the ground, picture the daily cycle. Commuters stopped at newsstands, unfolded a copy of the morning paper, and encountered photographs of Ponzi presented with the same polish as a rising industrialist. Reports described lines outside his office stretching around the block, and that visual became its own argument. If so many trusted him, how could he be a fraud? The coverage didn't just relay facts. It amplified his aura of legitimacy before readers even considered the math behind his claims. That repetition of image and story made disbelief seem like the stranger opinion. Swap the newsprint for a digital feed, and the pattern feels familiar. Where headlines once validated Ponzi's promises, now it is viral clips circulating on TikTok, YouTube, or Instagram that create the same legitimizing effect. A 25-second video of someone beaming beside a cartoonish price chart, promising quick profits if you join before it's too late, functions in nearly the same way. Likes and comments act as endorsements, just as testimonials in the paper once did. Skim through trending posts, and the rhythm is nearly identical. Excitement, spectacle, and a promise that waiting will cost you. The incentive structures in both eras pull toward hype. Newspapers depended on sales, and a sensational article on Ponzi's wealthy clients sold more copies than sober warnings about impossible returns. Social platforms depend on engagement, and a video claiming overnight riches will always outperform a cautious breakdown of risks. In either system, skepticism is quieter, harder to package, and less profitable to promote. A thoughtful column doubting Ponzi was drowned out by breathless coverage of his success. Today, long-form financial warnings disappear under viral clips of influencers flashing sports cars. This blurs the line between reporting and participation. When papers published glowing stories about Ponzi, the lines outside his office swelled by the next morning. Their coverage helped produce the result it was describing. Social media operates the same way. When an influencer posts about a new token, the sudden rush of buyers drives the price up, which then validates the hype in the eyes of new viewers. The channel becomes part of the scheme, not just a mirror reflecting it. The issue of trust ties it together. In Ponzi's day, newspapers were regarded as near-official institutions. Their failure to warn early was interpreted by many as tacit approval. Investors assumed that if something were dangerous, surely the papers would say so. Today, the validation comes through metrics. When viewers see thousands of comments backing a project, they assume safety in numbers. Remarks claiming, "I cashed out big," mimicked the testimonials that once filled Boston newsprint. Criticism, then as now, was either muted or dismissed as envy. That comparison also underlines how low the bar can be. Ponzi needed space in the city's most prominent dailies to appear legitimate. He needed his portrait in print and flattering articles to make his case. A century later, credibility might arrive from a creator recording a clip in their bedroom, cutting in screenshots of supposed winnings they hardly understand. Add upbeat music and fast edits, and the effect lands with the same force the morning newspaper once held. What once required an editorial board and 4 pages now requires a smartphone and a Wi-Fi signal. Yet the tale is not simply one of blind endorsement. The Boston Post eventually did turn its pages against Ponzi, probing deeper into his claims and publishing damaging details. That shift helped unravel his operation, but the timing mattered. By the time those lines of questioning gained traction, Ponzi had already raked in millions. The initial glow of coverage had allowed him to scale in ways no lone con man could have achieved. In other words, a delayed press reckoning still functioned as a megaphone, only one that first amplified, then slowly dismantled. Modern platforms echo that delay in their own way. Fraudulent schemes can run unchecked across feeds for months before regulators or journalists intervene. By then, the momentum has drawn in thousands. The common element is speed. Once hype circulates more quickly than caution, it gives fraudsters the upper hand. In 1920, that speed was daily headlines. In 2025, it is instant uploads. Both create an environment where excitement gets oxygen and skepticism suffocates. The parallels are stark but instructive. Media systems, whether print presses delivering broadsheets or algorithms boosting trending videos, were never designed to protect audiences from illusions. They were designed to maximize reach. When the incentive favors excitement over evidence, it gives scammers the perfect conditions to appear larger than life. Newspapers helped make Ponzi legendary in Boston. Today, online platforms can do the same on a global scale in a matter of hours. The channel changes, but the appetite for spectacle remains steady. So when we ask who really built Ponzi's rise, the answer points back to the amplification machines of his era. Without those breathless articles, his pitch might have stayed small. 100 years later, algorithms play the same role, handing a global megaphone to anyone who knows how to package hype. The first expose that probed Ponzi's numbers actually boosted his profile before it cut him down. And the irony is that attention itself served as a kind of endorsement. The same paradox shapes the media environment today. And that leaves an even sharper question hanging. If amplification made Ponzi into a household name, what happens when the same model powers scams built on global networks and digital assets rather than coupon slips in Boston? The answer lies just ahead. Crypto and the new age of Ponzi. In the 100 years since crowds lined outside Ponzi's Boston office, the scheme hasn't vanished, it has simply been repackaged. Today, its most popular disguise is found in the language of cryptocurrency. Terms like staking, liquidity pools, or yield farms sound technical enough to imply real innovation. Yet the structure underneath is almost unchanged. Payouts for early participants come directly from the money that new investors put in. The surface looks like computer code and digital dashboards, but the basic math is the same cycle Ponzi relied on, now accelerated by technology that makes deposits and withdrawals instantaneous. The losses speak to the scale of this transformation. In 2024, the Federal Trade Commission reported that consumers lost $12.5 billion to fraud, with $5.7 billion tied specifically to investment scams, the single largest category. Many of those involve crypto projects that promise stability and high yields. These are not minor stories. They reshape markets, topple companies, and leave millions of ordinary people with nothing. Consider 2 names already written into economic history: FTX and Terra. FTX, a global exchange once valued in the tens of billions, collapsed when it was revealed customer funds were misused, sending investors, and even large institutions, scrambling. Terra and its token Luna promised a self-sustaining algorithmic system, only to unravel in a storm of panic sales that wiped out tens of billions more. Each collapse was different in detail, but the principle was the same as Ponzi's old trick. Early confidence was fueled with new money until the instant withdrawals outpaced deposits. Beyond those high-profile implosions, the pattern repeats on smaller stages every day. Influencers issue personal brand tokens, attract enthusiastic followers, and sell out as soon as prices rise. Everyone who bought in late is left stranded. Others join obscure liquidity pools or staking contracts that dangle unrealistic interest rates, not realizing until too late that the payouts were never supported by real revenue. The marketing may use sleek dashboards and specialized jargon, but behind it is only the circulation of deposits. What appears like innovation is often just faster fraud running on better technology. Speed defines this new era. Ponzi needed months to scale and depended on banks and newspapers to build his crowd. Now anyone with Wi-Fi can launch a token in minutes, flood social media with promotional videos, and draw investors from multiple continents within a single day. When doubt finally catches up, the end is just as swift. Billions of dollars vaporize in hours as projects freeze accounts or vanish entirely. What Ponzi once managed neighborhood by neighborhood now plays out globally in real time. Accessibility magnifies this reach. Investors no longer need to visit an office or sign paper contracts. A smartphone and an app make joining seamless. Screens update balances every second with charts angled upward, profits seemingly accumulating with each refresh. This reinforcement convinces participants they are engaging with a transparent, technical system. But those numbers, lines of code on a screen, are no more secure than the hand-signed certificates Ponzi once distributed. The appearance of growth works because it feels constant and personal in a device people check dozens of times a day. The irony is sharp. Cryptocurrency and decentralized finance were supposed to eliminate middlemen and democratize opportunity. In principle, they offered tools for anyone to build wealth. In practice, that openness broadened the scammers' reach. With almost no oversight, anyone could invite strangers to their revolutionary platform and funnel deposits instantly to private wallets. Instead of democratizing gains, many projects ended up democratizing losses. Savers handed over life savings with a few taps, watching numbers climb on screens that would later freeze or vanish altogether. Social dynamics amplify the illusion. A century ago, crowds outside Ponzi's office reassured others that this must be legitimate. Today, groups form in Discord channels, Telegram chats, and influencer comment sections. Every referral code and meme creates the sense of belonging to something bigger. Friends push one another to join. Online communities celebrate rising metrics as if they were a collective achievement. Behind the noise, all that money simply fuels earlier payouts. Numbers on an app, like crowds on a Boston street, become the visual proof people cling to. The collapse stage feels just as familiar across decades. Victims swing between denial and outrage. In 1920, they crowded courtrooms or tried to rationalize their mistake. Now they post screenshots of balances reduced to zero, seek collective lawsuits, or vent frustration in threads and videos. Some admit they ignored warning signs. Others insist recovery is possible even after the money is gone. Psychologically, the attachment doesn't break easily. Confidence once invested in a charismatic figure or a sleek app still lingers long after the collapse. The continuity with Ponzi's model is not loose metaphor, but functional identity. These modern platforms do not generate wealth. They shift money forward until new contributions dry up. That arithmetic never changes. If payouts must come from later deposits, each scheme is destined for failure. Smart contracts, trading bots, or tokenomics cannot alter it. They simply automate it at scale. Like Ponzi's postal coupon story, the technical-sounding explanation distracts from the impossibility. Complexity remains camouflage. This is why every generation is vulnerable. The packaging changes, the language changes, but the cycle is stable. Yield farms and crypto exchanges are simply today's storefronts for an old business model. For a period, participants see real returns and boast about them online. The noise spreads, more people rush in, and the machine hums. When confidence cracks, the entire system unwinds with brutal efficiency. What once toppled banks in Boston can now destabilize whole sectors of a global market. The resemblance makes the present less surprising and more sobering. In 1920, people pitched their hopes on postal coupons. In 2025, they stake savings on tokens that promise impossible yields. The specifics differ, but both recycle money without ever creating it. Human behavior drives each cycle. The lure of effortless profit, the fear of missing out, the quiet belief that maybe this time technology makes it different. Collapse follows every time, because confidence is fragile and math is unyielding. What we inherit from Ponzi, then, is not just a word for fraud but a recurring template. Technology has already reshaped power, speed, and reach, but the fragile core remains unchanged. Now as then, the illusion spreads because people accept the proof they want to see. Headlines, dashboards, glowing testimonials. And now as then, once faith drains out, nothing is left beneath the scaffolding. But understanding the structure only explains part of the story. Technology may accelerate the scam, but psychology decides whether it thrives. The real question is why intelligent people, often experienced, cautious, and aware of risk, still place their savings in systems that collapse the same way every time. That is not only about lies, it is about trust. And trust, more than technology, is the lever every fraudster has learned to pull. How scammers weaponize trust.